Breaking right now. Ali Kham is confirmed dead in a massive strike on Tehran, and the Middle East is spiraling into a war that could redraw the region overnight. He is dead. The man who ruled Iran for 36 years, the man who built the nuclear program, the man who armed Hezbollah and Hamas, the man who ordered the killing of thousands of his own protesters in January, Ayatollah Ali Kham, supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, is dead. Killed in an Israeli airstrike on his compound in Tehran this morning, February 28, 2026. Confirmed by President Donald Trump on Truth Social. Confirmed by 4 Israeli security officials briefed on the matter. Confirmed by a senior U.S. defense official who told Fox News the U.S. government agrees with the Israeli assessment that Kham is dead, along with 5 to 10 other top Iranian leaders who were meeting at the same compound when the strike hit. Trump called him one of the most evil people in history. He said Kham was unable to avoid American intelligence and highly sophisticated tracking systems. And he added that the heavy and pinpoint bombing will continue uninterrupted throughout the week, or as long as necessary to achieve peace throughout the Middle East. This is the most consequential single moment in the Middle East since the fall of Saddam Hussein, a supreme leader who held absolute power over 90 million people, who controlled the judiciary, the military, state media, and the IRGC, who had no designated successor, is gone. And the world he ran is now in chaos, on fire, and firing back. Let me give you the full picture of this day because it is unlike anything the world has seen in decades. The strikes began before sunrise in Tehran. Israel hit first, announcing what Defense Minister Israel Katz called a preemptive attack under the name Operation Roaring Lion. The joint U.S.-Israeli military operation carries the name Operation Shield of Judah. U.S. Central Command released footage from an operation it called Epic Fury, all 3 names for the same coordinated assault. The U.S. military struck Iran by air and by sea, simultaneously using Tomahawk cruise missiles, high-speed rockets, standoff weapons launched from aircraft, and drones. For air defense, the U.S. deployed Patriot missile batteries, THAAD systems, and ship-launched Standard missiles to protect its own assets from Iranian retaliation. And then the scale of the assault becomes clear. Israel sent 200 fighter jets on the largest flying mission in the history of the Israeli Air Force, striking 500 targets across Iran in a single day. 500 targets. Not 5, not 50. 500. Those targets included strategic air defense systems, ballistic missile launchers, IRGC bases, military command infrastructure, and the compound where Kham was meeting with senior officials. At the moment the strike hit, an Israeli military official told reporters that the U.S. and Israeli militaries spent months building up an extensive bank of targets in Iran and were waiting for exactly this moment. A moment when senior Iranian officials would gather in one place. They found 3 separate gatherings of senior officials and struck all 3 simultaneously on Saturday morning. The result, according to Trump, is staggering. He told NBC News in a phone interview that most Iranian leaders are gone. He said he does not mean like 2 people. He said a large amount of leadership was killed. He described 3 separate attacks occurring over the last 24 hours, not just the one the public saw covered this morning, but 2 others that inflicted very great losses on Iranian leadership. The IRGC commander, General Mohammad Pakpour, was killed. Ali Shamkhani, senior advisor to Kham and the man who just days ago posted publicly that a nuclear deal was within reach, was killed. Israel said it had confirmed killing several of the 30 top military and civilian leaders it had targeted in the opening strikes. The Islamic Republic has been decapitated in a single morning. And then there is the detail that makes this moment historically unique. Kham prepared for this. He knew it might come. The New York Times reported this month that Kham had put in place detailed succession plans and emergency chains of command, should he or other top leaders be killed in American or Israeli strikes. He elevated Ali Larijani, former parliament speaker and one of his closest confidants, to manage a crisis scenario. Larijani survived Saturday's strikes. He is now the most senior civilian official standing in Iran's government. And his first statement after surviving, posted on social media Saturday, was that Iran would deliver Israel and the United States an unforgettable lesson. The man holding the wreckage of the Iranian government together is promising maximum retaliation. And he means it, because Iran already retaliated, and what Iran did in retaliation should terrify anyone who thought this would be a clean operation with a tidy outcome. Iran launched a massive barrage of missiles and drones across the entire Middle East simultaneously, not at one country, not at two, at 6 Arab countries and Israel all at once. The UAE was struck, Qatar was struck, Bahrain was struck, Kuwait was struck, Saudi Arabia was struck, Jordan was struck, and missiles and drones rained down on Israel as well. Iran named its retaliation operation True Promise 4, a reference to its previous retaliatory campaigns against Israel. The UAE took direct hits in Abu Dhabi, the capital. One civilian, a Pakistani national, was killed after missile debris fell on a residential area following an interception by UAE air defenses. 5 explosions in rapid succession shook the Corniche district and caused windows to vibrate for miles. The UAE Ministry of Defense confirmed it intercepted 132 missiles and 195 Iranian drones in a single day. But successful interception does not mean zero consequences. When THAAD and Patriot systems destroy a missile at high altitude, the debris still falls. It fell on Saadiyat Island, on Khalifa City, on Bani Yas, and on Mohammed bin Zayed City. And in Dubai, the iconic Burj Al Arab Hotel was struck by falling drone debris, causing a fire on its outer facade. Dubai International Airport sustained damage to a terminal concourse. Smoke rose from the Palm Jumeirah. 4 people were injured at the Fairmont Palm Hotel. Dubai, the city that is supposed to represent everything stable and safe and prosperous in the Gulf, watched missiles fly overhead on a Saturday afternoon while tourists were still on the beaches and golfers were on the fairways. In Qatar, Doha shook under multiple salvos of Iranian missiles. In the city's residential neighborhoods, one missile struck a street and erupted in a fireball. At Al Udeid Air Base, home to U.S. Central Command and the Air and Special Operations Forces that are right now conducting strikes on Iran, the base was targeted directly. In Kuwait, a drone struck Kuwait International Airport, causing damage to a terminal building and minor injuries to airport employees. In Bahrain, the Jaffair district housing the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet was hit, and residents were hurriedly evacuated as explosions went off. A 15-year-old student named Jana Hassan told AFP, "When we heard the sounds, we cried out of fear. I will never forget the sound of those loud blasts, like Tombini Tree, Hudaldarit." In Saudi Arabia, strikes hit Riyadh and the eastern region, the kingdom that privately lobbied Trump to launch this attack. And we know this because the Washington Post reported Saturday that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman made multiple private phone calls to Trump over the past month urging him to strike Iran. Is now Ryan Matadate saying on its own soil as a direct consequence. Let that sit for a moment. The country that secretly pushed for this war is now being bombarded in its capital city. In Iran itself, more than 200 people have been killed in strikes across the country, according to Iranian state television. 747 people are injured. Strikes hit 24 of Iran's 31 provinces. And then there is the horror that may define how this war is remembered in history. In the southern Iranian town of Manab in Hormozgan province, an airstrike hit a girls' primary school. It was Saturday morning in Iran. Saturday is the start of the school and work week. Classes were in session. The school was full of children. The death toll at that school rose to 108, according to Euronews citing local media. Other reports put the initial number at 85. The local prosecutor confirmed scores of girls were still buried under rubble. U.S. Central Command spokesperson Captain Tim Hawkins told reporters he was aware of the reports and said they were looking into them. Israel did not immediately respond to requests for comment on the school. Now, I want to step back from the horror of the individual moments and explain what this day means structurally for everything that comes next. Because Qam's death does not end this war. It may have just made it longer and harder to stop. Here is why. Under Iran's constitution, when a supreme leader dies, an interim council assumes power and the assembly of experts, a body of 88 Islamic clerics, meets to select a new supreme leader. But Israel's strikes have decimated the chain of command that would normally manage this transition. 7 senior defense and intelligence officials confirmed killed, 30 top leaders targeted. An Israeli attack hit near Qam's sons, though intelligence assessments suggest they survived. Mojtaba Qam, widely discussed as a potential successor to his father, survived the strikes but now faces a succession process in the middle of an active war in which his country is being bombed by the 2 most powerful air forces in the world. A senior Arab diplomat told the Times of Israel that while the killing of Qam is a massive blow, the regime had prepared for this scenario. The same diplomat added a warning that cuts to the heart of what the Trump administration may not fully understand. Iran knows that the U.S. wants this military campaign to end as quickly as possible. Iran will seek to drag it out. That assessment is the most important sentence spoken by any analyst on this entire day, because dragging it out is exactly what Iran's strategy has always been. Not winning, surviving long enough to impose cost, long enough for political pressure in Washington to build, long enough for oil prices to crush the global economy, long enough for Iran's proxies to bleed American and Israeli forces across 5 countries simultaneously. Hezbollah in Lebanon still has missiles. The Houthis in Yemen are still operational. Iranian-backed militias in Iraq are positioning. The IRGC has not been fully destroyed. It has been wounded. Wounded animals are the most dangerous kind, and the oil dimension is now impossible to avoid. The Strait of Hormuz sits at the center of this war. Geographically, Iran has repeatedly threatened to close it. 20 million barrels of oil move through it every single day. Oil markets have been in shock today. The war risk premium that Goldman Sachs estimated at $6 per barrel before the attack has been overtaken by events of a scale nobody specifically modeled. And when markets fully open and price in an active shooting war across 7 countries simultaneously, with Iranian missiles landing in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia, the number on oil will reflect a world that is genuinely at war around its most critical energy choke point. Oman, the country that mediated every round of nuclear talks over the past 3 weeks, called for an immediate ceasefire on Saturday and warned of dire consequences for the region. When the peace broker is warning of dire consequences, the parties are past the point where anyone in the room is in control. There are political fractures inside America, too. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie posted on social media during the strikes that he is opposed to this war, that it is not America first, and that when Congress reconvenes, he will work to force a congressional vote on the war with Iran. He cited the Constitution's requirement that Congress declare war. He is not alone in that concern, but the strikes are already underway. The bombing will continue, Trump said, uninterrupted throughout the week. There is no pause button. There is no diplomatic back channel that can stop what is already in motion in the next 24 hours. The Omanis can call for a ceasefire. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for an immediate cessation of hostilities. None of it changes what is happening in the sky above Tehran right now. What does this end look like? It depends entirely on which of 2 things happens first. Either Iran's remaining military capacity is degraded enough that it cannot sustain the retaliatory strikes, and its new leadership decides that accepting American demands is the only way to stop the bombing. Or Iran's retaliation causes enough damage, kills enough Americans, disrupts oil markets severely enough, and creates enough political and economic pressure in Washington and across Western capitals that the United States faces a choice between escalating toward a full invasion it is not planned for and declared, or negotiating an exit that allows both sides to claim some version of a result. Trump said this morning he spoke with the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, Turkey, and the UK. He also spoke with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. That phone call list is the emergency diplomatic effort to keep regional allies from fracturing while their cities are being hit by Iranian missiles. The Islamic Republic that Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini built in 1979 and that Qam ran for 36 years has lost its supreme leader, its IRGC commander, its National Security Council secretary, and dozens of its most senior officials in a single morning. What comes next is not peace. It is succession struggle, military chaos, and a government wounded enough to be dangerous in ways it was not when it was functioning. Netanyahu said thousands of targets would be hit in the coming days. Iran said thousands of missiles are still available. The school in Manab is destroyed. 108 children are dead. Dubai's most famous hotel is on fire. A civilian died in Abu Dhabi from falling missile debris, and the bombing will continue uninterrupted throughout the week. The Middle East that existed yesterday morning is gone. What replaces it is being decided right now in the burning streets of Tehran, in the command centers of 2 carrier strike groups in the Arabian Sea, and in whatever secure location Ali Larijani is sitting in as he decides how hard to hit back. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications. Every hour of the next 72 hours is going to produce developments that change the picture when Larijani makes his next move, when the Succession Council meets, when markets open and oil prices react, when the first American casualty is confirmed or the Hormuz threat becomes real. This is the channel that tells you what it actually means, not just what happened. Subscribe, drop a comment. Do you think the Islamic Republic survives this week, or is this the beginning of its end? Tell me what you think. I will see you in the next update.